Hey guys, welcome back. As said, we're going to set up the graph section now. So let's head over there. And I will just drag my windows in here. So let's create a function to update our slot settings. So let's say you add an item to the inventory and there's an empty slot there. Then you want to populate that slot with the new item's data, such as its texture and quantity. So I'll call this function update inventory slot. This will take an input of type sinventory slot structure. I'll copy the input text and I'll paste it right here. I'll then promote this to a variable because we will be using this variable later for a bunch of other different features. And then we'll need to check if the slot contains an item currently. If it does, then we can get the data from it and set the widget's texture and quantity. If it doesn't, then we just do nothing. So let's create a global function for this because we will be using this function to check if the slot is available or not in multiple classes. So I'll create the global function within our function library. And before we move on, I'll just select all of these functions and place them in a category called core files. Just drag it in. Now I would add a new function called isSlotAvailable. Now, if the slot is available, then that means it does not contain an item. So I will add an input of type inventory slot. I'll rename this to be inventory slot as well. And I'll pass this by reference. So we're going to break the structure and check if the data asset within the structure is valid. If it's valid, this means that the slot contains an item. If it's not valid, then this means the slot is empty. I'm going to drag this to create an output and connect the return value. I'll make this function pure, and then I would duplicate this, and this function is going to be called slot contains item. The only difference here is we're going to remove the not boolean check and just connect the is valid pin. Great. We can place these two functions in a category called inventory system. Then back to the WB inventory slot widget. We can drag off right here and search, does the slot contain an item? We're going to save this in a variable and we're going to call this slot contains item. We're going to use this later in other functions. And we're going to update the visibility of our quantity and texture. So if the slot does not contain an item, then we hide it. If it does, then we show it. So we're going to search for set visibility. We're going to connect both widgets. And from the invisibility, we're going to drag off and search for a select. And the condition would be the slot contains item condition. We're going to drag this right here. And if the slot contains an item is true, then we make it visible. Actually, let's do non-hit testable, self only. And if it doesn't contain anything, then we hide it. And by default, let's set both of these widgets here to be hidden. Now let's get the slot contains item boolean, and we're going to right click and convert this to a branch. And now let's update the texture. So if the slot contains an item is true, then we're going to get a quantity, we're going to get a texture, and from the texture we can do set brush from texture. And for the quantity, we can do set text. Wrong one, set text. Great. So there's one more visibility that we need to update, which is the quantity. Now this is optional. If you want that when you add an item and the current quantity is 1, or your maximum stack size of an item is 1, and you want to show that quantity a value of 1, then you can skip this visibility step. But if you want that when you add an item and there's only 1 within the slot, you don't show the quantity, and only when you have 2 or more, then you update the quantity visibility of the text within your slot, then you can proceed with what I'm about to show you. So I'm going to get the inventory slot here, and I want to break this. And let's get the quantity. We're going to check if the quantity is less than 2. If it's less than 2, this means 1 or 0. We're going to add a selection. So I'm going to duplicate this set visibility here and connect this to the true pin. I'll delete the icon texture. I'm going to only use quantity, and I'm going to run a select. The condition will be this one. Now, if the quantity is less than 2, then we'll hide it. And if it's not, then we'll do non-hit testable self only. Next, we'll connect the quantity text setting and the texture. For the quantity, all we need to do is drag the quantity over here and connect it. We'll create an automatic conversion for us. And next, from the texture, we can just select the inventory slot, get the data asset, and from the data asset, we can get the item texture and drag that all the way across into this function. I'm just going to clean it up a bit. And that's that. And that's all you'll need to set this item. So basically, when you update an item, this is the function that we're going to be calling. And when we initialize the inventory as well, this is the function that will update all of the slots. Let's say if we started with some items, if we have certain equipment that we wanted to start with, this function will be going to take care of all of that for us. So that's it for this tutorial, guys. In the next one, we are going to focus on creating the slot container and populating our inventory widget with the empty slots. That's it for this one, guys. See ya.